Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, my name is Demigod Shmurda here. Hello and welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another episode of Arrowverse Analysis. Yeah, so I have a real job now, so I wear a watch now, but I had to get a new band for it because it did this to my other wrist. Yeah, turns out I have a skin allergy. Who knew? The Arrowverse has a pattern with its collection of series where the third season always manages to take itself almost too seriously. Well, at least that's true with the ones I've watched. I can't speak on Batwoman. Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, Black Lightning, even Stargirl and Superman and Lois follow this trend. And as for Legends of Tomorrow, it's hard to have made the show more serious than it was in Season 1, so I more consider Season 3 to be the most well-balanced tonally. But since Season 4 went a little too far in the campy and humorous direction, I think the Season 3 pattern still applies. However, while Flash and Supergirl's darker tones managed to enhance the viewing experience, not to mention the emotional impact of Superman and Lois' cancer storyline, Arrow's almost detracted from it. Arrow Season 3 is generally thought of as one of the worst seasons of the show, and I don't necessarily disagree with people saying that's the case. However, I think it may be for a different reason than just saying making Arrow darker made it worse. I believe it has to do with the way the series was received and handled up to that point. Arrow's first two seasons are a beautifully woven together series of 46 episodes that continually build on what came before. And not only was it well received, but Arrow's popularity was on par with that of the MCU. And it had just launched its first spin-off in The Flash. I believe Arrow's popularity, impact, and the nearly unmatched levels of nerdgasm that the Season 2 finale gave us is precisely the thing that made Arrow Season 3 so mediocre. It is for this reason that I call the first two episodes of Season 3 Arrow's Icarus complex. On the surface, the beginning of Arrow Season 3 feels like a period where the Arrow writers believed they could do no wrong, and this led them to making some of the worst decisions in the history of the show. At the end of the season premiere, the Arrow writers killed off their best female character in Sarah Lance. They then proceeded to drag out the mystery of her death until it had no intrigue left, resolved it via a plot contrivance that conveniently ties up all loose ends, and it ends with the whole thing being made meaningless in Season 4 anyway when she gets brought back from the dead for Legends of Tomorrow. This decision reeks of a studio drunk on its own power. And while this isn't the only infamous element of the season, it is the most notable one because it feels so out of place and poorly conceived. They decided to kill off Sarah just because they wanted to make the show seem like they weren't afraid to kill any character at any point, but it ended up needlessly creating controversy around the season. When people talk Phase 4 of the MCU, I'm reminded that Arrow already hit that stride during its third season. Sure, it was going to be hard to live up to the unimaginable highs of Seasons 1 and 2, but that does not give Season 3 a pass for the bad decisions it made. This is also the first season that establishes that Oliver does not spend 5 years on Lian-Yu, which completely blew up the show's entire premise. There was also the decision to introduce Ray Palmer during this season, who is a character that is by no means street level like the first two seasons of Arrow were. And once again, this earned a lot of backlash from Arrow fans, and in my opinion, not all of it was unwarranted. This would be like if Marvel were to make Doctor Strange the side character of a Daredevil show. It wouldn't work because Doctor Strange is vastly more powerful than the series' villains, which should have been street level like the title character. If Ray were to become the Atom during the season, and especially if he and Oliver were to form a good rapport, how is the show going to continue to have stakes? In addition, this season introduces a lot of Green Arrow villains from the comics, notably Brick, Komodo, Cupid, and a new Count Vertigo that actually shares the character's name, and does absolutely nothing with any of them. These are characters that comics fans know are Green Arrow villains, apart from Cupid, who I definitely thought was an original character, and they're completely wasted on one-off appearances. And while the show kinda makes up for that with Richard Dragon later, it doesn't do much to assuage the wasted potential of these characters. And with the League of Assassins taking the stage in a big way during Season 3, the stakes of the show get blown way out of proportion. Suddenly, we're not just dealing with the fate of Starling City and the characters we know, but the fate of the entire world as well. Sorry, Season 4 haters, this one did it first. But the question isn't whether Season 3 lives up to the highs of the seasons that came before, because it doesn't. The question is whether or not Season 3 is any good. So, is it? That, my friends, is the question for today. If this is your first episode and you're wondering how my rating system works, there's a detailed description down below, along with a link to all my other episodes of Overanalysis. But I encourage that you watch this one first. I'm sure you'll still enjoy it. With that out of the way, let's return to the Overanalysis. Arrow's third season kicked off with the Mark Guggenheim and Jake Coburn written episode, The Calm, which premiered on October 8th, 2014, and was directed by series veteran Glenn Winter. 4 months after the siege, Starling City is experiencing a time of peace and reparation. Team Arrow's productivity and morale is at an all-time high, and Oliver and Felicity are thinking about getting together. However, there are new threats on the horizon in the form of a new Count Vertigo, as well as a new leader in business looking to take over Queen Consolidated. Okay! They're opening it the same way the first 3 seasons! Only this time, Oliver is in Starling, as opposed to the island. Ooh, the collapsible bow! Let me see that again! Oh, that's cool!
Coming up 52nd Street, heading east.
I already counted this one as a 52 in season 2, when Felicity says, or talks about the 52nd Street Bridge, so I'm not gonna count it again, because once a 52 exists in this universe, I'm not gonna count it a second time. But just know, I noticed it. Not until post, but I noticed it. Ooh, that was a cool shot. Oh, and now here we get to see Roy's Arsenal suit for the first time. I really like this stitching, and this stitching shows up also on Thea's Speedy costume, I believe. I do like the red accents on his bow and whatever these are. I assume these are fletchings. Also, if you look closely on Roy's belt here, you can see that he has that knife that I need to talk about at some point. But yeah, no, this is a really nice suit, actually. And Colton Haynes fills it out pretty nicely, too. Ooh, it's raining. Ooh, look at this.
Vincent Stillgrave, you have failed this city.
And the first counter of the season! Wait, no, let me rewind! They never played the dun-dun-dun! The first thing of the season and you don't play it? Screw you! You can also see that they once again changed the arrowhead for the season premiere. It wasn't as noticeable in season 2, but you can very clearly tell that this is a very different arrowhead. This is the League's brand arrowhead, from what I remember. Or this is what Oliver gets branded with anyway when he joins the League later on in the season.
Take another off the board.
We keep this up, there'll only be 2 types of criminals left in Starling City. The ones we put away, and the ones that are running scared.
We get a good look at the new list here. I assume this is just all the people they were going after in between seasons 2 and 3. They just called it the board instead of the list, but still. Clearly trying to invoke that season 1 imagery. The more that I've sat with this season in recent months, or recent weeks, I guess is a better timeline for it, the more that I've realized that this season is kind of set up as a final season in case they get canceled in favor of The Flash. So bringing back the list imagery here from season 1, actually a clever idea. Also, is that supposed to be Brick? I know he shows up later on in the season, and that really does look like the actor playing him.
What's that?
A fern. I thought since you were living here now, the place could do with a little sprucing.
They should buy me a bed.
You're sleeping on the floor.
They are flirting. Wait, special guest? Oh, that's right. He shows up for one line.
I figured since you and Lila are having a girl.
Aww.
Man, you cannot afford this.
Which is why I made it. Arrowheads, one of the few things that I can make.
Call back to season 1. We actually did see him making arrows. Dude, I love that they show Oliver making arrows. It's something they don't have him do in later seasons.
You and Lila are happy.
Well, you know we should try sometime.
Last girlfriend, she's in the League of Assassins. My girlfriend before that, she shot my girlfriend before that.
So many callbacks just happened there. Obviously, one of them is to Sarah. The other one is to Helena and McKenna. Surprised he did not mention Laurel, but I guess that was never really a thing in this show. And in my opinion, it was for the better, but I am in the minority on that. Welcome to Hong Kong. Oliver's always running at the start of these goddamn flashbacks. Get our first good look at Masao Yamashiro here, who is played by Carl Yoon. Oh, I was gonna say this is the only thing he's really known for, but just looking at his top 4, Arrow is not even up there. Oh, yo, he was on Magnum PI recently. Hey, that's kind of cool. Ooh, damn. Love the emphasis they put on his spin.
I told you, I don't speak Chinese. And I told you, you tried to escape again. I beat you so.
Might be a stretch, but there could be a callback to season 1 in there.
I don't speak Chinese!
Also, I get that it's supposed to be a callback to season 1, but at this point in the show, Oliver does actually know Chinese, because Shadow was teaching him in season 2.
What's your dollar?
She's teaching you Chinese. How sweet.
His lawyer folded like a deck chair after I hit him with the evidence that the Arrow gathered.
Hey, it's nice to see these two working together.
Did you ever think that we'd end up as business partners?
Is that why you invited me down here, Laurel?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, Quentin is bald! I've seen him with the hair for 2 seasons now that I'm not used to him having not the hair anymore.
How are you?
Well, if they told me press conferences came with a promotion, I would have told them I prefer getting shot at.
Good thing your doctors didn't give you a choice then.
Or you could try to hide the fact that you're glad I can't get out in the field anymore.
I can't hide that I'm glad that you're safe.
Oh. So, Quentin took an injury in the season 2 finale, and I had to cut it for time. And also because it's really not relevant. Well, actually, it kind of is, but only like one time that I can remember a few seasons from now when they bring up that Quentin has a pacemaker and that Felicity can track a pacemaker. It really doesn't matter that he took an injury.
5 months ago, this city was under siege, and the SCPD rallied behind a man in a hood. Well, I ended up with a captain's rank, and he didn't even get a thank you. The Starling City Police Department is formally recognizing the individual known as the Arrow.
That's sick, dude.
Lack of leadership. I nominate myself.
So here we are introduced to our new Count Vertigo. This one is played by Peter Stormare, I believe is how you pronounce his name. The last Count Vertigo, Cecil Adams, was played by Seth Gable. And this guy's not necessarily bad. He definitely has a lot of creep factor, but I prefer Seth Gable's performance. He gave him a kookiness that's just super fun, but, you know.
In the wake of the Count, I tinkered some with his formula. My vertigo reveals the faith of your greatest fear.
Yeah, this is where it starts becoming literal fear gas, dude. Also, it's really short, but I love the morph animation on him here. You can really see his face morph into the mask here. And it's really smooth both ways. Oh, it's so good. The way the nose curls up, the way that his ears fold in, the way his goatee becomes the jaw. It's a really nice morph. They could have just cut to the monster's face. They chose to do a morph because it would look better, and I respect the shit out of that. Little detail that I appreciate here is the Verdant sign slightly tilted because the club is all closed down.
How was work?
It is a soul-crushing exercise in misery that offers health and dental.
Yeah, Felicity is, she's right. I do actually like my new job, though, but I know that a lot of people say that about their jobs, that it's very soul-crushing and it makes you dead inside. I haven't gotten there yet, thank God.
Suffice it to say, I am highly motivated to help convince the board to sell you back the company. What you do have is passion. You gotta speak from the heart.
Speak from the heart.
Would you like to go out to dinner with me?
Are you asking me out on a date?
The implication being with dinner that you...
Usually I'm the one talking in sentence fragments. Yes.
And yeah, it's so awkward and the dialogue is so clunky, but I honestly kind of feel like that's what works about it.
Calvin Nico just knocked over a liquor store. Nico's in Still Gray's crew.
Get me Felicity.
I'm at work. Could I ask you guys just to wait one moment? Someone is calling for tech support. Oh, you are gonna get me so incredibly fired.
It's a very small thing, but I actually do like that we get to see Felicity at work at least like once or twice. You don't really see the normal interrupting the vigilante lifestyle. At least not in ways that don't involve dates. Also, I really like the contrast of the fight scene that we're about to see happening at night, whereas Felicity is in a very brightly lit building. Don't know if that was done on purpose. I'm gonna assume it is.
You like Italian, right? Everyone likes Italian.
Oliver, you're in the middle of a high-speed chase.
I'm multitasking.
He's in the sewer. And yes, I love Italian.
Ooh, look at this shot!
Detective,
Detective. He still calls him detective.
someplace I have to be.
You got a hot date or something?
Hey, his dumbass smile!
So this is my reward for saving you from drowning in that freighter off the coast of Lianyu.
Why'd you do that?
Suffice it to say, I have need of a man of your capacity.
I don't care about anything except going home. I will never stop trying to escape.
And you should know that it's extremely easy to kill someone the world already thinks is dead.
Kill me then.
Oliver doesn't care at this point in the flashbacks.
We're gonna have to try this another way then.
Thank you for waiting.
Oh, no problem. I'm trying to breach a door-secured firewall and I need someone to help me piggyback off a keyhole hexagon satellite.
So now here we meet Ray Palmer, played by frickin' Brandon Routh of all people, who famously previously played Superman. And in this show, he plays Iron Man.
You're Felicity Smoke. I know a guy who might be interested in hiring someone with your expertise.
You shouldn't buy this. The next gen model, the TX50, comes out in a few months. I got to touch one last year. Pure bliss.
Wait. Hang on, I'm gonna go look back at an episode real quick.
Is that the satellite frequency communicator TX50?
It is! It is the same freaking computer she talked about at Argus! And that, ladies and gentlemen, is evidence of two things. One, the writer's attention to detail, and two, I watch too much of this goddamn show.
If you want to breach door-level security, you should really deploy a remote administration tool.
Looks like the restaurant they're going to is Colorado Italian Bistro, so it's not Russo's. That would have been a good chance for a callback. Oliver's first date with Felicity is the same place as the first date with Helena. Although at the same time, probably best they did not make that callback. Also, does this imply that Starling City is in Colorado? Because that does not make sense. It is a point made several times that Starling City has ocean access. What the fuck?
Why you messing with us?
For your water access.
Yo, we get to see the bow retract, actually. Dude, he's doing his dumbass smile all episode. I actually like it.
What?
I'm just...
Nervous? And Forbes behind me.
I mean, what do we have to be nervous about?
We've already exhausted every topic that one would normally talk about on a first date, and a second date, and a third date, and every date. And I've already seen you shirtless.
There are still a few things that you don't know about me. The 5 years that I was away, I wasn't always on Lianyu.
Where were you?
Hong Kong, for one.
For one, he says. So they're acknowledging that he goes to Russia too.
And I have been thinking a lot recently about my time there.
One, the line delivery was really weird. Two, this is the same theme that they kind of go with. Theme is actually probably the wrong word, but during the season 5 premiere, Oliver just randomly starts thinking about his time in Russia or Russian proverbs and stuff like that because we are doing the Russia flashbacks at that time.
There's a Russian proverb. Been thinking about it a lot recently. Shark that does not swim drowns.
So it's the same sort of thing here, just to, again, solidify the fact that the show is now choosing to blow up its entire premise by sending Oliver to somewhere that is not Lianyu during the flashbacks. For, might I add, no reason! Well, not no reason, but I don't think those reasons are good enough to, like I said, blow up the show's entire premise. And I have this same problem with the Russia flashbacks too. I'm just more vocal about the Russia flashbacks because I don't really like season 5 all that much. Or let me rephrase. Everyone else liking season 5 so much has made me recognize a lot more of its flaws.
A little out of my element.
And I really like that. I like seeing Oliver out of his element.
The entire time that I was gone, I could never completely trust someone. And when that goes on for so long, you stop seeing people for people. You see threats or targets. I just didn't know how to turn that part of me off.
Something very similar to stuff that soldiers deal with when they come back from war. They find it hard to acclimate back into society because they spent so long on the battlefield and they have their head on a swivel so often that they're always looking for potential targets, potential threats, people to potentially cause them harm. I'm not the first person that's equated Oliver to a war veteran. I won't be the last. Hell, the show's done it in, what was it, An Innocent Man, when they had Oliver say that Dig is a fellow soldier.
No, I want you to join me. You're a fellow soldier.
Oliver, you're not a soldier.
So even Oliver, a little part of him considers himself a soldier. Probably because he was working for Amanda Waller in Season 3. And when you think about it like that, the Season 3 flashbacks suddenly get a lot better. It recontextualizes a lot of what you think about the Season 3 flashbacks. How Oliver literally did time as a soldier, so he thinks of himself as a soldier. And his brain is now wired in the same way that a soldier's would be.
GPS shows him in the restaurant.
When the hell did they get a tracker on him? Yeah, there's never a scene of this guy putting a tracer or anything on Oliver.
Do you remember when I told you that because of what we do, I didn't think that I could be with someone that I could really care about?
Oliver said that in the Season 2 episode, Keep Your Enemies Closer.
Because of the life that I lead, I just think that it's better to not be with someone that I could really care about.
There's a whole ass fucking RPG. That explode. Okay, nah, hang on. Nah, that looks fucking laughable. There has been some pretty nice camera work this episode. That was not some of the nicest camera work in this episode. The effect was really bad, too. Did Oliver walk her all the way here?
So we don't think you and an explosion at the same place is a coincidence?
Hey,
Ooh, they have not cut yet. Oh my god, they still haven't cut.
It's a GPS tag. I found her in her jacket. It's wasted now.
It was a setup so they could plant that thing on me.
Two things. One, that's the first cut in that sequence. Two, when? Also, where were you earlier, Roy?
Somebody planted a tracer on me and I don't notice. The only explanation, I lost my focus. Hey, you're safe.
That made me jump a little bit.
Got this handled, detective?
These guys blew up a building. You think I'm shitting this out?
I'm vernicidal.
Oliver really just lets that happen?
But you can call me Vertigo.
Count's dead.
But his glorious narcotic lives on.
So this one here is not actually a morph effect. It's a fade. And you can see... You really can't tell, but Stephen Amell's jawline comes in more here compared to the other guy's jawline. And the fade effect is really good. Like, you don't notice that the scenery around it gets slightly lighter because this is two different takes of the camera, and Stephen Amell is standing in a slightly different position to the actor playing Count Vertigo. And they fade into each other pretty nicely. The editing in this episode, like with the camera tricks and moving between shots, is honestly great. There's still too many cuts in these fights. It's very rare that we get to see Steven doing a fight with his stunt double. Ooh, that was actually pretty cool. That might be some reused footage in there. Oh no, it's not reused. Never mind.
Get away from him or get put down!
Quentin, you really should not be out in the field, my guy. Okay, maybe him taking a hit was a little more relevant than I put on. Damn.
Listen, me call an ambulance.
But not for me. Oliver, you had to have seen the direction he was going. No, I have made this joke before, but it's not a joke. Also, the fuck steroids was Count Vertigo on that he was just able to walk away from getting an arrow shot into his back? Normal people do not walk away from that. What the fuck? I know it's a TV show and I shouldn't think about it very much, but, she was bleeding all down the side of her head, and now she's just fine. Some characters have super speed healing and they can get away with it. This is not one of the characters that does, so I've got a little bit of a problem with that. Also, where was Roy for the last two action sequences?
Hit the streets. Warner's agenda can't stop with me. I need to know what he has planned.
I'll back him up.
Roy's got it. Go home to Lila.
He wants you to go be with your wife. Okay, and now we're meeting Tatsu.
まだ終わってないの。
People are gonna realize that I don't speak Chinese.
Japanese.
Good way to introduce us to Tatsu here, who is played by Rila Fukushima. Apologies in advance for all of my mispronunciations.
Do you know what an advanced healthcare directive is? It's what they ask for when you're gonna die, Dad.
Ooh.
Been a cop since before you and your sister were born, that's all I know. If I'm not a cop, what am I?
You're my father.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
And I just spoke to Ned Foster. He said the board.
Ned Foster is one of the recurring names that we hear around Queen Consolidated.
Apparently there's another bidder for the company.
So sorry, I am late. Traffic was terrible, which is why I took my helicopter. I parked on your roof. I hope that's okay.
If you can believe it, Ray's helicopter is a semi-important plot point later on in the season. So this joke is not for no reason. It's really smart writing.
2 years ago, the people of Starling City thought I was dead. I came back, and so can Queen Consolidated. With Starling National Bank's new investment, we can take QC out of receivership and into the future.
Good to know that Walter's still backing Oliver. He still believes in him.
This company is my family, and as my mother always said, there is nothing more important to me than family.
Hell yeah! Bring that background from her mayoral campaign. This episode is a lot better than I'm giving it credit for, and a lot better than I'm gonna put on in the intro of this episode.
Thank you all for coming out today.
Oh, they're playing Ray's theme!
Science. Numbers. I like numbers.
Could be a stretch, but I feel like him keeping this projector on his belt buckle is a reference to his bio belt, which is how he uses his suit to shrink and grow in the comics.
These numbers show QC's performance under Mr. Queen's management. This is raw information from your company's own servers.
How did he get into our computers?
Something tells me he deployed a remote administration tool.
I do like that Ray and Felicity meeting earlier in the episode actually is something that's involved in the plot, and it's not just something to introduce Ray.
This company's woes are a symptom of a much larger problem, and that problem is Starling City. This city still needs saving, and that is my vision for this company. To not only see it rise from the ashes, but to take this city with it, and that new day has a name.
Star City! Hey, that's the city's actual name in the comics.
I couldn't make time for QC last year. I'm trying to get the company back now. That's selfish. 2 years ago, I made a decision to put Oliver Queen aside and be the Arrow. It's not a choice I get to unmake.
Last night at the restaurant, you didn't feel that way.
Look what happened, Felicity. When Warner hit me with the vertigo dart, he told me that his formula shows us our worst fear. And I saw myself. I think I'm scared of what would happen if I let myself be Oliver Queen.
Background music is a little overpowering of his voice there, but I do like the idea, though, that Oliver is afraid of being himself. After 2 years in the hood, I can understand a possible argument that Oliver doesn't really know who he is outside of the Arrow. It's not that Oliver is afraid of being himself, it's that he's afraid of being happy. I mean, look at everything that's been built up in this episode. Dig and Lila are 9 months pregnant. Quentin is a little bruised up, but it seems like him and Laurel are working things out. Starling City itself it feels a lot more alive. We're getting a lot more scenes in the daytime than we've ever gotten in an episode before. To my memory, anyway. So it would make sense that Oliver is... It's not that he's afraid of letting himself be Oliver Queen, it's that he's afraid of letting himself be happy because it means he'll let his guard down. And that's exactly what he was talking about with Felicity at the restaurant, too. How he doesn't really see people, he just sees possible threats and possible targets. He's afraid that letting himself be happy, letting him turn that part of his brain off, that it might put everyone around him in danger. It's actually a really deep character moment that, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember being in this episode. And now I have to make the argument that this is Arrow's Icarus complex?
You know how they got the number of crime bosses in Starling City down to 3? Some guy Warner wants to make it 0.
What are their locations?
It's not like these guys walk around with little GPSs attached to them.
Yes, they do.
Petrov, Costa, Shimosawa, they're all in parole or out on bail.
Ankle monitors.
Can't be right. They're all in the same location.
Rockets Arena.
Rockets Arena? Wait, we're gonna actually visit a Starling City sports location?
The heavyweight title fights tonight. That's like Christmas for crime bosses.
So the Starling City Rockets are a basketball team. So it's kind of weird that they're having a boxing match at Rockets Arena, right?
Roy, suit up.
Hey, suit up! Is that the first suit up? I'm not gonna make a counter for it, but I think that's the first suit up.
Where do you want me?
Here. I can't have you in the field anymore. You're gonna be a father? Diggle, you have a life. It's life I can't have.
I like that they're focusing on Felicity in this shot.
You and Felicity were in an explosion. People died. Either one of you could have.
Detective Lance is laying in a hospital bed right now because I let him
Wait. Lance is his own man who makes his own decisions. And so am I. Damn it, Oliver, you would be dead 10 times over if it wasn't for me.
You're right, but this is my crusade, which makes this my decision.
Okay, we're getting into the CW-ness of this. Okay. And just after I was talking about how much I liked this episode too, that has got to be some kind of record. I wish that it didn't immediately jump to an argument every single time with the Arrowverse shows. I wish that there was a little more of like a calmer discussion. Also, another thing, I like that the board or the replacement list is actually important to the plot of the episode in a way, so it's not just a callback for the sake of a callback. That's something that feels like the Arrow writers from season 1 and 2 would do that. Team Wildcat Grant! They were setting that up?! God damn! And spoiler alert, no, this version of the character is not better than the one on Stargirl. Either of them. Yolanda Best Girl, obviously, and then Stargirl's Ted Grant, I actually do like, for the very little amount of time we get to see him. This version's not terrible, he's just the worst of the 3 people to don the Wildcat suit. And also, he has the worst Wildcat suit.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
So first up, we're getting advertisements for the Ostrander here. The Ostrander Hotel was, of course, where Dig and Lila stayed in Season 2, which was a reference to the Suicide Squad. Then we're, of course, getting Ferris Air advertised here, which is, actually, the Flash is visiting this location right now as we speak. Or probably earlier in the episode, but, yeah, no, that's... The Flash is visiting the Ferris Airstrip. And then the Ruther, I hope that's how you pronounce that, rum, which is the bottle of rum that Slade brought with him on the plane. As for what these other things could be referencing, beats the fuck out of me. Everything is so much more well lit in this season, which I like it. I really like it. We do actually get a better look at Roy's costume, just not immediately, but yeah, I really like this. The sort of ribbed look of the shoulder pads. I really like that. And of course, you get a better look at the stitching here, all over his suit and the zipper. I actually like the zipper. Yeah, no, the suit just looks really nice. I don't know what else I can say about it. Camera work is really nice in this episode. Oliver let himself get hit again? Now he sees himself again. This time they don't do the morph thing, though. So while we don't get the morph or the fade effect either way, we get this kind of pulsating effect, you can see. You can see how the shapes are pulsating in the background to show that Oliver's been afflicted with the vertigo. Even his face is pulsating based on like the way his lip moves and his chin down there. But when Oliver overcomes his fear here, we do get the fade effect back to normal, and it is a mixture of the pulsating effect and the fade effect from before. Only this one is definitely a lot more noticeable because the noses don't exactly line up. And neither do their goatees. His mouth is a lot shorter than Stephen Amell's. And also, for some reason, the background changes colors to green. And it's a fairly obvious one, too. Like, this background is clearly black or brown. And this background is very clearly green. And he just overcomes it. No ill effects at all. Oh, and then Sarah just shows up. That's right, because she has to die. that clearly did not connect. No. Look at this. Clearly that does not connect. Come on.
Look above you. There should be insulated piping pumping the arena's AC system. You want to break one off, aim it at the bomb. You're going to freeze the thing.
Comic book logic. I'm sure that works. Yo, I like that. Oh, look at Roy doing parkour, dude. That was all really cool, actually. Okay, that one connected. And now Oliver's bow, but you can see that when he goes to grab it, it is pointed in the other direction. Yeah, I'm still not over how Oliver wasn't even dazed from the vertigo this time. Come on, that's something that always happens with vertigo. You can't just show that Oliver gets dazed or whatever from it, and then say, oh, but it's just fear gas now, so Oliver can just overcome it. That's not how drugs work. That's certainly not how hallucinogenics work. I will say, though, this guy is so much less interesting than the other Count Vertigo. Werner Zeitel, which, not a name. Whenever you try to stick a Z in a name, be it first or last, it doesn't work!
Word of advice, we're not our masks. And we need people in our lives who don't wear one.
That's true.
I can come back. Oh, Oliver, come in.
Okay, John, if your kid was about to be born, you needed to be here. I'm sorry, but that argument from... You have no legs to stand on in that argument from earlier in this episode. You do not, my friend. You literally were about to be a dad. Your kid was about to be born.
Thank you, Oliver, for being right. The second I looked at her, the whole universe changed.
Ah! They hugged? You won't let Barry hug you! But, yeah, okay, nah, I'm gonna lose that argument. I'm gonna stop.
Amanda Waller wants you working for her, and she will have her way. I'd rather die, which is why it's not your life she's threatening. She's threatening my family. She'll kill them if I let you go.
That's very Amanda Waller. This is the reason that Maseo is bringing Oliver into his home, to show him what will happen, to show him what he's fighting for.
My father had a proverb he was once fond of. A man cannot live by two names. And what does that mean? In your case, I believe it means not having any choice.
Kinda awkwardly shoved the whole proverb thing in there, but, I mean, it works, I guess, for, you know, for the theme of the episode. I do find it kind of funny. Like I was saying, he thinks of a Russian proverb at the top of season 5. Well, yeah, guess where season 5 got that bright idea?
I thought that I could be me and the arrow, but I can't.
Then say never.
Yeah, stop leading her on, Oliver. That's kind of not fair. Oh, okay, we're doing this. All right.
I told you as soon as we talked, it would be over.
Hello?
It's Barry. I woke up. I could use some advice.
I'm gonna address it now because it's relevant now. I'm gonna be going through all of Arrow, then all of Flash, then all of Supergirl, so on and so forth. I will not be doing Flash Season 1 and Arrow Season 3 simultaneously, even though that is how they aired. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want to get a clearer vision of everyone on Arrow's character arcs and everyone on Flash's character arcs and so on and so forth. I want to contain them to that specific show, as opposed to making both people and myself pay attention to multiple different series at once. It also allows me to do multiple episodes in one video if I so choose. How are you going to handle crossovers, people might be asking. You just gotta wait and see, okay? Because originally I was planning to do all of the crossovers at the end, after I watched everything else, and now it's like, I'm kind of moving things around to the point where it's like, maybe I watch Invasion, I just watch the whole event together because Arrow's 100th episode is mixed in there. And then the whole Armageddon thing, which is a crossover event, even though it's kind of an arc, but not really an arc. Eric Wallace wants to pretend that it's an arc, but it was a crossover event. It was advertised as a crossover event. But point being, I have to do all of Armageddon together, so I gotta do all of the crossovers together. I can't just do the 100th episode of Arrow, even though it's the 100th episode of Arrow, because it's part of a crossover. So I haven't fully worked out what I'm going to do for crossovers yet, but point being, there is going to be episodes that I skip from here on out. Not every episode, but some episodes I am going to skip because they are crossover stuff. I will be watching each show to the end of their run and then starting the next show.
Laurel Lance, always trying to save the world.
If I don't do it, who will? That's a callback to the pilot.
Dinah Laurel Lance, always trying to save the world.
Hey, if I don't try and save it, who will?
Yeah, I really do feel like the Arrow writers were kind of worried they were going to be canceled in favor of The Flash, or something like that. This feels like the premiere of like a final season in a lot of ways. And I rewatched parts of the season 3 finale recently, and that feels like a series finale to me. But then the Arrow writers said that the plan was always to go for 5 years. So that's why it kind of has me worried that like they thought they were going to get canceled or something like that. And granted, after what they're about to do in the next 45 seconds, I can absolutely understand why they would be worried about the show getting canceled. We even see her walking down an alley.
What are you doing here?
It's actually shot really well, and I'm mad about that. Oh, I'm so mad that they did that. All right, 1.5 times speed is the fastest that Netflix goes, but I want to see if I can hear Thea's voice in here. Nah, it really just sounds quicker. I'm gonna play with that in my editor and see if I can't get Thea's voice out of that.
Hello, Sarah.
About 8.
Hello, Sarah.
I mean, it's certainly distorted, but in my opinion, yeah, that kind of does sound like Willa Holland.
You gotta let me in, Ollie. Oh, don't tell me a tough gangbanger like yourself's afraid of a tiny little needle.
Hello, Sarah.
Which means that it was always their plan to have Thea kill Sarah. But do you think that they had it figured out how it was going to be Thea at this point? Because if they did, oh boy. Oh buddy, that is a very, very hard choice to defend. Alright, we're officially an episode into season 3, and I actually have a lot to talk about with this episode. And most of it's actually positive. In terms of the episode's plot and overall structure, this was a really good start to the season. I said it a few times during the episode itself, but this really does feel like a final season premiere in a lot of ways. There's a lot of callbacks to the pilot, both through imagery and dialogue, and the first half of the episode really toys with the idea of Oliver wanting to be happy, which would be a good ending for him. I don't really like the new Count Vertigo all that much, but him being here means there's another Green Arrow villain loose in a potential final season of a Green Arrow show. And as much as I hate the decision to kill Sarah off, killing a major character at the top of your final season certainly sends a message. But let's talk about that decision for a moment. Whoever in the writer's room decided this was a good idea, congratulations, you played yourself. You somehow managed to piss off both comic book fans and television fans with that one. Yeah, Sarah was an original character for most of the show, but she was the stand-in for the Black Canary, who's the Green Arrow's most famous love interest in the comics. And taking comics out of it, killing Oliver's undisputed best romantic partner throughout the entire show is just so distasteful and makes you look like you have no idea what you're doing. I'm trying to put some respect on Season 3's name here, or at least look at it in an unbiased manner. But if you keep doing shit like this, you're gonna make my job a lot harder. Killing Sarah was an objectively bad choice, and you had to know that on some level. But you did it anyway, and to no fault of this episode, absolutely nothing comes of it. And remember, she just randomly shows up in the climax, fights a dude that stands no chance against her for a few minutes, has a conversation with her sister, and then dies. There's no build-up to her potentially showing up outside of an unrelated, offhanded comment 30 minutes before she shows up. She doesn't say anything meaningful that will change Oliver's mind, and her conversation with Laurel only happens so that she can watch her sister fall to her death. She literally shows up to die. That is bad writing. There's also a few action scenes where it seemed like it would have been really useful for Roy to show up, and he just doesn't. But as for the rest of the episode, it has a very good structure. A good 95% of the scenes in this episode feel like there's a point to them, or at least they have a very good deal of foreshadowing. I got a lot of my positive points out during the breakdown, which I think I'm going to do more. I think I'm going to splice in my thoughts more into the breakdown as opposed to during the rating segment, so that we can talk a little bit more in depth about those specific moments. Oliver having no ill effects from the vertigo in the third act is fucking stupid though, especially since he clearly had some the first time he fought Count Vertigo. Characterization is also mostly solid here. There's a few chinks in the armor, but not too many. Oliver, I think, is written the best out of everyone here, which shouldn't be a surprise. I talked about it more in depth in the episode, but I really like how Oliver's fear is more interpretive of him being afraid to be happy instead of being himself. He's had some experience in the not-so-distant past that's made him remember why he wears the mask. and I really like that the episode shows you that instead of just telling you. I enjoyed seeing Oliver out of his element in his personal life, especially when he and Felicity went on their date. We rarely ever see Oliver put in a position that makes him nervous or uncomfortable, so seeing it here is really great. Dig's pretty decent outside of that argument in the climax where he had absolutely no leg to stand on. Felicity is alright until the very end. Sarah felt like Sarah for the minute and a half of screen time that she had. Maceo isn't as effortlessly interesting of a character as Slade or Ivo or Shadow, but he has a very understandable motivation for wanting to follow Waller's orders. And as for the little that we see of Waller, she definitely feels like herself. But the new Count Vertigo has just no character. The camera work itself was surprisingly good during this episode, and the lighting was a massive step up from the first two seasons. I liked a lot of the callbacks to seasons 1 and 2, and the hints at what's to come with characters like Ted Grant and Ray Palmer, and I think they did a good job designing Roy's costume. I especially liked the lack of background music during Oliver and Felicity's date. Typically, I think a little background music can go a long way, but in order to appreciate the moments where there are no background music, you need to have a lot of background music. That's one of the things with Daredevil that I really don't like. There's very little, if any, background music. And I will admit, it prevents me from getting all the way invested in the show. It just does. I'm sorry, it does. It's true. You can hate me all you want for that, but that's just my honest opinion.
It's brutal AA honesty talking.
I told you I was gonna use and abuse that clip. No one ever listens to me! And if I could continue talking about background music for a second, I very much enjoy Ray's theme. It feels very upbeat, inspiring, and different to every other character theme in the show. If you're in my Discord server, you probably saw my background music rant a while ago, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Characters need to have themes emblematic of who they are to easily establish their presence or the tone of that scene. And again, in order to appreciate scenes that don't have background music, you need to have background music, because the moments where they remove that background music injects a different life into those scenes. They feel a lot more intimate than they would if they had background music. And while some of the Vertigo shots were actually kind of cool, it's brought down by the fights, which feel very samey when compared to the quality of the time for the show. And by that, I mean there's a few cool shots every now and then, but there are way too many cuts. The fights that stand out in Arrow's first two seasons are the stairway fight in Vertigo, the mansion assault in Betrayal, the hallway fight in The Undertaking, and the Oliver Slade duel in Unthinkable. There are a lot of episodic fights that just feel like filler on account of the poor editing, and I feel this is the case here. And I also didn't like how all the Hong Kong flashbacks had this blurry filter over them. That is not visually pleasing in the slightest. Despite those negatives, I do think the episode was above average in this category. But man, there were some shots that just... they were something. Importance is gonna get that season premiere pass, and I'll give Entertainment a 4. I enjoyed this episode a lot more than I thought I would going into it. That gives The Calm a score of 21 out of 25, which is a really good start for this season. Now let's get into the wrap-up. I wrote the intro segment to this video before actually checking the episode out, which is something I don't normally do. But like always, I went into these episodes with an open mind, and as it turns out, it's actually a great introduction to the season. On this viewing of the season, I view these episodes through the lens of this being a series finale. And that opened my eyes to a bunch of different ideas I never noticed before. Also, if you're wondering why I'm saying episodes plural, I was originally going to do both the first two episodes in the same video, but I decided to split it up because I felt the premiere fit better as its own video, and the second episode fit better as its own video. These episodes aren't flawless, but I do think people generally didn't understand these episodes when they came out. Sure, they fit the darker, edgier Arrowverse Season 3 pattern, but there's a lot more nuance to these episodes than that. There are symptoms of the season's problems here, like seriously, was Sarah's death really necessary? But the disease hasn't festered enough yet that there's absolutely nothing to enjoy. But that begs the question, if this isn't where Season 3 shot Arrow in the foot, where is it? Is it Corto Maltese? The Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke? The Cupid episode? Was the season really good all the way up until Oliver dies in the climb? Or is there something horrible that I'm missing from not having seen this season in a while? What exactly is it that makes Arrow Season 3 so hated in the Arrow fandom? Regardless of that, that is it for this episode, guys. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. That'd be greatly appreciated. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already so that you can join us as soon as freaking possible. And while I'm plugging everything else, be sure to click the bell so that you get notified whenever we upload one of these crappy videos. But apart from that, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys. This is Demigod Shmurda. And